grandchild, not to mention the realization that there would never be a perfect time, had convinced her they should go for it now. In honor of the decision, she'd packed a present for Nigel to open when they checked into their suite in Maui. She had a feeling the gift of sex toys and baby booties would get the message across very clearly. Nigel was nothing if not a man of action. They were going to have fun. She heard a knock on her door, followed by a loud, 30 minutes! 30 minutes until showtime, she thought, settling into her makeup chair and closing her eyes. She was already dressed and made up. She knew her topics, had listened to enough of Treasure's music to qualify for fan club membership, and she'd skipped carbs at breakfast so she could taste-test potato salad to her heart's content. Good show, she whispered to herself, as she slowed her breathing for her pre-show relaxation ritual. She had 15 minutes of quiet, 15 minutes when no one would knock on her door or burst into her room. She would collect herself and then head to the set where she would be mic'd and given a final dusting of powder before starting her show. She inhaled to the count of 4, held her breath for a count of 8, then exhaled. She heard her door open, followed by, "Finola, we have to talk." Her eyes popped open. Nigel was standing in front of her. He grabbed her chair by the arms and stared at her intently. "Nigel, what are you doing here? I go live in less than 30 minutes. What's going on?" Nigel, a Beverly Hills plastic surgeon, didn't see patients on Fridays, and they were leaving on their trip in the morning. What was so important that it couldn't wait until after the show? He looked at her. "I'm sorry." It wasn't the words that got her attention so much as the tone, and maybe the stricken expression on his face. Her stomach clenched. What happened? Visions of her sisters or her mother lying prone on the road filled her mind. Or maybe there had been a fire, or "I don't know how to say it," he began, only to stop. Bile rose in her throat. Her heartbeat jumped 1,000-fold, and there was a ringing in her ears. Someone was dead. She knew it. "I'm having an affair." As he spoke, Nigel released the chair and paced the length of the room. He was still talking. She could see his lips moving, but for the life of her she couldn't hear anything. The roaring, rushing sound was too great. The words repeated over and over in her head until their meaning sunk in. Years ago, she'd fallen off a tall porch onto the grass below. She'd landed on her side, and all the air had been forced out of her lungs. This felt like that. She couldn't inhale, couldn't stop the surge of panic that swept through her as her body began to tremble. The lack of breath was followed by a sharp, gut-wrenching pain in her heart. How could he? When? With who? Why? They were married. They loved each other. He was her best friend. She was going to get pregnant on their trip to Hawaii. No, there had to be a mistake. He couldn't have. Only as she watched him watch her, she knew he wasn't lying and that he really had, with 4 simple words, shattered her and their marriage. "You have to understand," he said, his voice low. "I'm sorry to have to tell you now. I know the timing is less than optimal." "Less than optimal?" she shrieked, then had to consciously lower her voice. "Less than optimal. I'm about to go on live television. It's not enough to dump this on me, but you had to do it right this second? To screw with me even more?" "I've tried to tell you so many times over the past few weeks, but you're too busy to listen. There's always another show." She felt a flicker of rage and reached for it with both hands. At least anger would provide temporary strength. "You're blaming this on me?" she demanded. "You waltz in here and announce you're having an affair and it's my fault you waited until just this second to tell me?" "It's not like that." "Oh, really?" She brushed away tears. "What's it like?" He turned away. "I thought you needed to know." Before she could figure out if she was shaking too hard to stand, he walked out. Just like that. She was alone with the nausea, the aches, the broken life, and a ticking clock that warned her she had 18 minutes and 12 seconds until she was live. None of this is real, she told herself frantically. It couldn't be. It wasn't happening, and Nigel hadn't just told her about an affair. He couldn't have. Not her Nigel. Not the wonderful, warm, loving husband who was always there for her. She knew him. Not the cold stranger who had just left. If only her ears would stop ringing, she thought desperately. If only she could breathe or cry or scream or run. An affair. Another woman had been in his life, his heart, and his bed.